reading from NBC here. The former Massachusetts police officer accused of killing Sandra Birchmore after grooming her for years has asked to add a new lawyer who specializes in death penalty cases to his team. Matthew Farwell, a former Stockton police detective, on Tuesday filed the motion to have Kimberly C. Stevens to his team. Stevens is Senior Capital Resource Counsel based at a federal public defender's office in Tennessee. According to her website, she's represented Dylan Roof, the gunman who, motivated by racism, killed 9 black members of a historic Charleston, South Carolina church and one of 3 federal inmates who remained on death row after then-President Joe Biden commuted dozens of others' sentences. Now, look, I'm not a lawyer, but I will say, sounds like you're not in good shape if you're like, I need Dylan Roof's lawyer. Sounds like not a great guy who would request Dylan Roof's lawyer.
What have you done when you're like, I need Lex Luthor's Lex Luthor's legal team
I need
now.
4chan. I need 4chan Lex Luthor's lawyer.
I need fucking
ASAP.
I'm fucked if I don't.
Give me the guy that Joe Biden didn't commute.
It's like you have to find the evilest fucking person. Like
the one person Trump wouldn't pardon. Maybe I'll speak too soon. I don't know.
Darth Sidious, just they have fog emanates from like they have a layer. They wear a hood.
Yeah.
All right, we'll keep going.
The fog unfolds and there's some kid with a bowl cut and a bag of Burger King in his hand. No! All right. Farwell faces a charge of killing a witness or victim for which he could be sentenced to death if he's convicted. Whew. He's pleaded not guilty. Farwell was arrested last year and later indicted for allegedly strangling Birchmore and staging her death to look like a suicide. He resigned from the Stockton Police Department in 2022 during an internal investigation into the case. So now I am going to do my best to summarize this story, this tragic, infuriating, really those words are an understatement, story of Sandra Birchmore, which it wasn't until recently that these allegations of this police officer's involvement were finally officially brought to light, because it had been 2-3 years where it was sort of like bubbling underneath the surface, where the family, people online were trying to get people to see hey, this shit is not adding up. This lady did not kill herself. Look at all this other shit involved. So here is the story. Sandra Birchmore was, and tragically this is going to be relevant, she was born under tough circumstances. Her father died before she was born. Her mother was really struggling with a lot of stuff. And she, therefore, as a young girl, had police involved in her life. And she became, as a young girl, someone who admired the police and wanted to be a police officer. So she joined a national police youth program, which we're going to touch on more after we cover this story, called the Explorers Program. She joined when she was 15. This is a youth program, exactly what it sounds like. Teenagers who are interested in becoming police officers get to work with police officers. Now, she started working. The person running it at the time was this guy named Chief Divine, and he was grooming a lot of these girls. It eventually came to light that he is guilty of a lot of sexual deviance involving girls that he was grooming. Now, he at this time was much older, so much older that he had previously brought in 2 boys, these twins, the Farwell twins. Remember, the guy facing these charges, his name is Matthew Farwell. Matthew and William Farwell, they came in through the Explorers Program as well. And they were already not great students. They got in trouble for impersonating police officers as teenagers after going through this program. And Divine himself, Chief Divine, gave his good word that actually these kids are good. They deserve to be police officers. They became police officers. They started being involved in the Explorers program. That's where these twins met 15-year-old Sandra Birchmore, who was going through a lot at that time. Her mom had passed away, and her grandmother had just passed away. And so she's extremely impressionable. And we see a lot that this is where it's not a coincidence, really, that these impressionable girls are the ones that fall victim to these predators. These predators are predators. Yeah. They know what they're looking for. Yeah. It's not a coincidence. So, I mean, I don't got to go into the details, but she started a sexual relationship with Matthew and William, both the twins, but especially Matthew. And with Matthew, it went on for a long time, 10 years. And eventually, out of the clear blue sky, she commits suicide. She's found in her apartment. She's apparently hung herself from like her bedroom door. And the police very quickly, rule it a suicide. But her friends, her family are like, we know her. She did not do this. And one of the reasons why they were so adamant about it is because she was one of those oversharers. She's someone who always liked to talk about her life. She was constantly on the phone. And so they fought against this. The results of this investigation. In fact, 3 investigations total had to take place before the truth started coming to the light. And so if you look at the security footage of the apartment, Matthew, is that his name? Yes. Farwell entered and left her apartment for an hour this afternoon. She was supposed to have taken her own life. The other part of this is it turned out she was pregnant. And the cops, after multiple investigations, they finally broke into her texts and her laptop. That's when the truth finally came out. She was pregnant with Farwell's kid. And what had basically happened was over this 10-year relationship, obviously, so Farwell he's married. He has a kid. Meanwhile, he's still continuing this relationship that was born out of the abuse of a 15-year-old girl. This girl, now she's in her 20s, she is still seemingly in love with Farwell, which you can't blame her for that. I mean, this is we all remember, like, we can all go back to like the feelings we had towards a crush at a certain point that was crazy, and then once we're out of it, we can look back on it and be like, well, that was crazy. Well, she never got a chance to get out of it, and on top of that, the trauma of her being a 15-year-old girl, and this is a grown-ass man. So he kept stringing her along, and eventually, according to the text, Sandra realizes she has leverage over this man because he has a family he's cheating on his wife with her, and he's a rapist. Like, it's rape, what statutory rape, what he did to her when she was 15. So she brings this up. She starts using the leverage. She's like, I want to have a kid with you. I want you to have a family with me, which I know from the outside looking in, that seems like completely irrational that she would try this. But again, this is an abused, traumatized girl. And so finally, with that leverage, he has to agree. And it's really tragic, like all this information we have through her journals, through her phones. But she describes that one day, like, he was like resentfully agreeing to this. But one day she describes that, he's actually has a change of heart now, change of tune. He's now completely 180-degree turn, is like seems to be completely on board. She's telling her friends this. She's writing about this. Well, those were the days leading up to him killing her, because he had made that's what we can assume. He had made a plan. Yeah, he knows what he's going to do. Damn. She even described that he was asking about like the door frame and stuff about her. He was casing her apartment.
Shit.
And so he made that decision, and it seems that he strangled her and then set it up to make it look like a suicide. It's hard to tell whether the police, this was an intentional cover-up or just like extremely bad policing. Like her friends realized that after the initial investigation, they left on the floor in her bedroom was her necklace that was broken, not at the lock but at the chain, which apparently that tells you there was a struggle involved. Now, the police didn't even notice this. In my mind, I'm like, okay, if there was a cover-up, they would have taken that off the ground.
Yeah.
But apparently, it seems there's no explicit evidence of a cover-up. Seems like combination of them trusting their friend to a fault and just bad police work. But it took 3 investigations, and now this is all coming to light. He's on trial. He's hired Dylan Roof's lawyer to help represent him. But that's essentially the story of, this absolutely terrible story of Sandra Birchmore. But I want to dive beyond this horrible case. I want to dive more into this problem, because if you listen to this podcast, you know, every fucking week, me and Ashton, when we're reading the headlines, it is assault, assault, assault. It's really insane.
Yeah. That meme of the 40% of cops is like, that's half our stories. It's like it's 50% over here. But it's truly illuminating. Like, it's like you think you know, you don't know.
You don't know. It's just shocking that we allow this to happen, but it's like
this is a part of. It's like finding out firefighters are also they're beating up kids. Like 10% of firefighters also got beef with 8-year-olds. And you're like, why is that's just something we accept? Yeah. That's part of.
But we can connect it to a lot of themes we talk about on this podcast. Like firefighters have a very specialized job. They go and fight fires. There's not really whereas the police, they dip their fingers into all aspects of our society, and they are granted like broad what's the word I'm looking for? Like leeway. Authority, trust, right? They're the ones, when it's time to investigate their crimes, half the time they're investigating themselves, right? Yeah. So it's easy to understand once you start thinking about, once you get over the initial shock of like every week this is going on, it starts to become very easy to understand how this can happen. Yeah. And the question starts to become like, is it chicken or egg? Like, is it cops who are predators before they're cops, realizing like, oh, this is a route I can go and be able to like exercise these terrible deviant thoughts that I have? Or is it that the cops go in with not those intentions, but now they're surrounded by all this. They really see how much power they have, and they start to flex that power. At the end of the day, it doesn't really fucking matter what came first between that chicken and the egg.
Is the police department is that a chamber or cauldron to transform regular people into fucking psychopath abusers? It sounded like. Yeah, there's one. People go in, are the people? It is a good question. Are the people going into these? I think it's probably a combination of both.
Yeah,
they are psychopaths. They are attracted to this psychopath training facility that allows them jurisdiction to go and be psychopaths out in the world. Go and fly and. I think it's probably both. They're probably attracted to each other. Because I don't know what rational person I mean, obviously there's tons of cops, but I'm just like, why would I want to be the person in charge? Like, all right, don't stop it. Don't do that. Yeah. Hey, like that's not fun for life. But obviously, to each their own. I'm so far removed of wanting to tell people what to do.
And they're like, there is a noble version of wanting to be a cop. Obviously, there's people out there who subscribe to what the police is supposed to be, and they go in and be cops with purely good intentions. And I would say like most cops are not out here murdering and raping us on a daily basis. Most cops, I would say, are dealing with low-level problems in society in a way that is not helpful, in a way that makes it worse. And most cops are probably actively overlooking some things that the worser cops in their department are doing. But
they don't understand that being a cop is actually a good smokescreen if you're a criminal.
Yeah.
It's like a perfect smokescreen because you can
Yeah.
basically get along. You can basically do the same behaviors, but this time you're not getting in trouble with nobody.
Yeah.
Which is, I feel like, yeah.
It's crazy that like how little information we have on this, because this is like, I think it might all stem from just like, this is a taboo. This is hard to even talk about, it's the worst stuff there is. And like, it's hard to talk about. Maybe that's a reason why. I mean, the number one reason why there's not statistics for this. Let me take a step back. Forget what I just said. We know the number one reason why there's not numbers on this, because again, the cops are in charge of disclosing that information. But even like, there's like mapping police violence. They do great work because there's not a centralized arm that's keeping track of the murders that police are doing. Journalists have to do it themselves. And mapping police violence, a great resource used on this podcast a lot. They track that the best they can. And so that's where we get these numbers that police kill an average of 1,100 people a year in the U.S. That's insane. In places like Canada, next up on the list in terms of wealthy countries, that number doesn't hit 100, but it's 1,100 a year in the U.S. That's why we want to do this podcast. And ultimately, this podcast is very unscientific. And it's because it kind of has to be. It's like we're trying our best. We are reading these headlines because that's the best we can do, but it's undeniable when you read all these headlines in a row. Patterns. You can say it's unscientific, it is, but you can't deny, like, holy shit, what the fuck? Like, this is insane.
I'm noticing a pattern here.
Yes, and with these types of crimes, it's even more opaque. Now, we have no fucking idea what the extent of what is going on here, and people are it seems like of recent are now trying to make an effort to shed some light on this, which is good. And so I'm gonna read from the Marshall Project. The Marshall Project does really great work, and they did a write-up, and they wrote this piece in 2024 when the Sandra Birchmore, when the truth of that story started coming out. Now remember, she was a part of the Explorers program. Frequently, when me and Ashton read headlines involving the police abusing the youth, frequently those kids are signed up for some police youth program. There's many, and a lot of times it's this specific one, the Explorers program. I mean, just last month, there was a cop here in New York who was caught sexting what he believed to be a 14-year-old girl. It was a sting, and he got arrested for that. But that cop ran an Explorers program. He was the head of one.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
What the?
And that was just last month, right? So I'm going to read now from the Marshall Project, article titled, In This Police Youth Program, A Trail of Sexual Abuse Across the U.S. Created by the Boy Scouts of America decades ago, law enforcement Explorer posts are designed to help teens and young adults learn about policing. There are at least 194 allegations that law enforcement personnel, mostly policemen, have groomed, sexually abused, or engaged in inappropriate behavior with Explorers since 1974. An ongoing investigation by the Marshall Project has found the vast majority of those affected were teenage girls, some as young as 13. Lack of oversight was partly responsible for the abuse, the Marshall Project investigation found. In many programs, armed officers were allowed to be alone with teenage explorers. In a few instances, departments minimized or dismissed the concerns of those who reported troubling behavior, records show. So already we're seeing the confluence of issues here, cops being granted too much leeway, and then once something starts to look shady, cops investigate themselves. The officers accused of abusing teenagers spanned the ranks, from patrolmen to police chiefs. Some were department veterans cited in news articles for their community work. A handful had served their agencies for barely a year, and some were married men with families of their own. Many cases led to criminal charges. Some officers went to prison, while others received probation or weren't required to register as sex offenders. A few departments allowed officers to keep their jobs after a reprimand or short suspension. The Marshall Project's analysis found at least 14 departments among 111 agencies that had a history of repeated allegations.
Keep their jobs is crazy.
It is crazy.
What?
Right?
It's like, I feel like there's like zero tolerance policy when it comes to
Yeah,
fucking,
dude. I mean, we have a zero tolerance policy just when it comes to human beings, like under the eyes of the law.
Yeah.
You fucking go to jail for that shit.
Yeah.
Let alone keep the job that allowed you to do it in the first place.
Damn, there's 3 strikes for pedophilia. All right. It's my first.
Exactly.
All right, I'm only on strike 2.
Strike
I still
2,
got-
yeah. You're doing pretty
You
good.
know,
You're only on strike 2.
I'm good. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to stay off the stuff. But you know,
And we get it. And we appreciate the work you're doing out there.
yeah, that shit's fucking crazy. How
Yeah.
the fuck are you letting this guy work?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Damn,
I mean,
dude.
yeah.
Shout out to the Marshall Project for fucking like pedophiles amongst the ranks of the police. It's like
Yeah. And it's like, it seems like just the early stages of looking into this. Cause it's like, what is their investigations doing? Like, they can't go into these police officers. They can't actually investigate. It's just looking for, they're just taking they're doing in a real professional investigative journalistic way. Basically, just what I do researching for this podcast every week, just trying to find the cases that we know of that have been made public, and putting those together. But that we know enough about the police to know that that's a fraction of what's going on.
Crazy. So if you use Citizens app and you use that, like, there on the Citizens app, there's like you click a button and it shows you all the pedophiles and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, you see them all locked up in jail. That's not the pedophiles. That's it's the actual police.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, look, they got all the pedophiles locked up in jail. No. That's,
those are the guards.
fuck.
Yeah.
You think you're good, but no.
I see here you've transferred from another department. Not going to ask why. I'm not a rude sheriff over here.
Oh, my God. That's so crazy that they just... All right, well.
It's rude to ask a man why he got transferred from another department. It's one thing you just don't do to another man. You're hired.
Shooting black people. I'm just going to say that. I was shooting black people, dog. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah. Which, honestly, I mean, that was, I know, obviously you're joking, and that is funny, but it does touch on, like, I think in terms of, like, what we're all trying to do when it comes to the problem of policing in the U.S., which is, at first, like, obviously we're trying to stop what's going on, but it requires, like, first step is get people to see what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Get people to just see it. And I think, like, this is a good weapon for that because it is so inexcusable. Like the joke you just made about killing a black guy, like, people can justify that with racism, and they do, and they always do. Murder in general, killing people, we all, there's ways to justify that. Everyone right now, take a moment, close your eyes, think about someone who could die in this, and then you could be like, all right, murder, it's possible to justify killing. There is no way to justify this shit. There is none. There is none. So maybe it could be like a good, like, tip of a spear in terms of, like, because I'll see it every week. We post, like, the KAWPS, tonight on KAWPS, like those videos every week. All the comments, like, it's all like murder, rape, murder, and then like all the comments are always like pick out one of the murders and are like, well, actually, and it's like there's never a comment on all the rapes. I mean, how do you even make that comment? You can't. So they just every time one of you motherfuckers out there comments like trying to argue against one of the videos we post on the roundups, you look fucking silly because you're only commenting on one out of the 15 stories, and of course it's never ever gonna be the ones when it comes to this topic here. Because what the fuck are you gonna say?
Well, actually, well, you know what they're gonna be like. What was she wearing?
Yeah.
What was that?
What was the child wearing?
What was that?
It's like you're not gonna say
15-year-old?
that.
Yeah, man. That fucking Jesus. If you're trying to defend it, if you're trying to justify, if it's like boiling up in your head right now, like a justification, hate to tell you, bro. You're a pedophile, dog. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If this is how you find out you are a pedophile. If you're like, well, I think I can figure out how to. No, fuck, I'm a pedophile. That's
Kendrick Lamar is out here writing songs, writing hits about
he's right behind you. Just like a horror movie.
Yeah. Look in the bathroom, close the light, say his name 3 times.
I promise you see Candyman.